This year, Ordinals will make a bunch of millionaires, and most of them will come from these 5 trends. Trust me, you don't want to be missing those, and especially the last 2 that we're going to talk about. Let's jump right into it. The very first one that we need to discuss is runes. And what you're seeing here is a very clever marketing strategy actually to introduce a potential first runes token whenever they launch. So just a step back before we get into these RSICs, Casey, who's the creator of Ordinals pretty much, came out and said that he's building a new standard for tokens, which is called runes. It has a lot of advantages. It's going to be traded as UTXOs and so on. So we're not going to get into the technical details. However, he's still working on them and they haven't still launched. He's planning to do this on the block that it's going to be the halving block. So somewhere in April will be the official launch of this new standard. However, some protocols are already speculating using the name of runes and this new standard that they're gonna be the first ones, and they have some clever mechanics that will kind of give you an advantage over any other rune, and also you are able to farm it through this protocol that they've created. I think it's really creative. They pretty much airdropped these inscriptions to random people, random wallets. I couldn't figure out if there's some kind of a pattern for the drops. I personally got just one, and I'm very, very salty because some of my friends got like 10 or 20 of these, and we've been from the beginning to together pretty much. But these guys are currently trading at $1,800. So some people made a lot of money out of thin air. And that's one of the trends actually that we're going to talk a bit later in the video. But these RSICs claim that are some kind of machine or whatever, it's game theory pretty much. But pretty much you'll be able to mine runes, and the first claimed to be the first token on runes, by simply holding them. And you can see some kind of information here on this tweet and who's going to get what. There are different levels, there are different boosts, all kinds of game mechanics, but this is the total supply. So it's 21 billion tokens, and you can see the rewards that you'll be getting if you have one rune. So about 1 million runes per one of these inscriptions if you have one. And keep in mind, these started flying right from the start. When they got dropped, it was somewhere around 400 or 500 bucks, and then you can see the chart here. It's just going nuts, healthy retracement, and now just keeps growing and growing. And this has been the #1 collection for a while, for a few days now already on Magic Eden. And by the way, if you don't know this tool, it's extremely powerful. It gives you charts pretty much for all kinds of collections. Also, they're adding BRC20s, and they're working on adding something like tap tokens, NATs, and so on. So definitely go and check it out. I made a separate video, but I'm gonna leave a link here. This is a free tool for now, so you can just go and enjoy it and chart yourself and have a competitive advantage over the others. So runes definitely want to keep a very tight track on. I think Casey will come up with also some more information in the coming months. And whatever you can get your hands on when it comes to runes. RuneX is another project that have claimed from the beginning that they're going to be implementing runes, and they're going to be trading. They have this announcing box 3 right now. Go and do some volume on their exchange, so on their Discord and so on. I think these are 2 main ones that are currently seeing, but definitely there will be more and more projects, probably a lot of copycats from what these guys did. So just keep an eye out on there. And definitely get familiar with rules, because I think this will be one of the biggest trends of this year. The second massive trend will be the entire track ecosystem. So if you don't know Benny the Dev, this is like the I don't know how to call it even. He's like the GOAT of the Ordinal space, in my opinion. An amazing dev. He got a bunch of funding lately, and he has built this track ecosystem, which is pretty much the indexer for the entire space. And he's also building his own protocols. So one of them is called Pipe, which is similar to how runes operate. So when runes get traction, I think Pipe will also start getting a lot of traction. But then he also deployed Track, which is a BRC token, and you can see the chart here. This is one of my biggest winners for now, but I'm still looking to buy more, and it's starting to get into my buy zone. I wouldn't be rushing here, but I will be definitely getting some more Track and some more exposure. And the main reason for this is that potentially it's announced that we might get an airdrop of a token that he's gonna be launching, which is called Tap token. So Benny already deployed it, and you can see this here on TapX, which is another project that is building on the Track ecosystem. So he released minus Tap, which is like a cursed version of the Tap token, and then he minted out pretty much the entire Tap supply, which is technically the first token on another standard that he does. So one is Pipe, one is Track, which is the BRC20, and Tap is another type of standard for transfers and for things that you can do on the Bitcoin blockchain. And the rumor is that he will be airdropping some of the Tap supply into holders of the ecosystem. So that includes probably Track. I also have quite a lot of GIP, which is the meme coin of the Tap system. And yes, I'm definitely gonna shill it because I think it's gonna do well. Currently, it's one of the most traded tokens here on Ordinals wallet, and it's been circling around 10 cents, which is, I think, about 20 or $30 million market cap. Let me just quickly calculate it. Actually, it's much lower. It's around $6 million market cap. So definitely, I think this is a low cap gem that could do well. And potentially, I hope that we're going to get a bit of a Tap airdrop also for GIP holders. And that's only the beginning. As I mentioned, TapX is another place that they're building. So potentially this could turn into an exchange. Also Ghostly, which is a BRC token, they're also partnering with Track, and I think it's a very good play for the ecosystem. As you can see, it has done pretty much a full retrace, and I hope to see some kind of accumulation in these levels before I get interested into this. But also, like, the entire space is trying to build out the DeFi for Bitcoin. I think Track and its ecosystem is the closest, but there are also other competitors that we're going to mention, also some of them here. So just keep an eye on this. I wouldn't be fading Benny, and definitely the entire ecosystem and the tokens we just mentioned are the ones to watch and to get accumulated in this phase of obviously crashing and reaccumulating, which I believe we're going to see in the next few months. Another massive trend that probably people will forget about in a month or so is Bitmaps. There are a lot of hot narratives in Ordinals. They come up every few days or so, pretty much. But Bitmaps is the OG project. It's very simple. It's actually very cheap in general compared to, let's say, an Ordinal fork. And I think these will do very, very well. Currently, they're sitting at around $140 million market cap. And as you can see, let me use this chart here. They're selling like crazy. And I was hoping that they will drop a bit more. But as you can see here, price has been holding very strong. After people were sleeping on it for months and months on end, it just started climbing. And currently we're sitting at $180 for Bitmaps. I think this is really the no-brain play. And if you don't have a ton of capital to deploy into more expensive collections, I think Bitmaps are really the easiest choice. And I started selling some of my other collections, like for example, Bitcoin Bear Cups, and I will be accumulating a bit more Bitmaps, even at this price. I minted just a few, so again, I'm very salty about this, but there's no one to blame here. For this airdrop here, I could complain and blame some other people, but for this one, I just didn't mint enough. So, nobody to blame, but I will be accumulating a bit more because I think these will do extremely well. It has all the narratives, like it's the most popular project in all of Ordinals. It has the metaverse meta and that people could do stuff with these separate blocks. And it just makes sense because also there's another thing, people will be getting a lot of free stuff dropped to them. One of the first things that I personally got was some of this BMT token, which I still haven't sold, by the way. But as you can see, a lot of people pretty much dumped it on the market once they got it here. And after that, this is showing some relative strength and actually some quite interesting price action. I have a very few because I have very few Bitmaps, but I think these might actually pull a rabbit out of the hat and do well. So I'm definitely keeping them and long term and potentially for the next bull cycle within Ordinals. But I think this is just the first airdrops that the Bitmap holders will be seeing, which brings me to the next point and probably the easiest way that people will make a ton of money in Ordinals and really become millionaires. I really do believe there will be a lot of millionaires in this space, is that Bitmaps in specific, they will get a lot of airdrops. The guys from the Block Runner, shout out to them. They discussed this in detail on their channel, but pretty much just one way to get airdrops from Bitmaps will be this type of block drop tokens. So we haven't talked yet about NATs, we're gonna do this, but you pretty much have your bitmap, and with every bitmap you're holding a certain type of ownership, let's say, on this block, and within that block there are different elements that people are starting to notice and register, and you know, potentially projects that want to build and want to create a community and airdrop tokens, they are going to do this to their bitmap holders. And let's say, for example, there's a field called bytes on the block, and there are a certain number of bytes, and you own this bitmap that is related to this block, so you get the number of bytes within this block that you own. It's kind of complex to understand, but go watch the Block Runner guys. They're really good at explaining stuff, much better than me. And just keep an eye on this, because there will be a lot of new things coming and a lot of free money to be made on Bitmaps. And actually not only on Bitmaps. If you go to Magic Eden and onto the top collections, I've already discussed in a separate video which I think are my favorite picks for a bull run in Ordinals, and here it is. Actually, I've been doing a lot of Ordinals content, so go check it out. This is the video that I'm talking about, the top 5 projects that I'm looking into in this bear run, and also I'm revealing my portfolio and so on. So go check it out. We're not gonna go over which collections I'm gonna be buying and so on, but really a lot of those #1 collections like Node Monks, Bitcoin Puppets, Bitcoin Frogs, OMB, which surprisingly is not in the 24-hour volume, but probably we can see it here. There it is, OMB. You know, all of these collections will start getting a bunch of airdrops, and one of the biggest one actually that is right now still trending, and by the time you watch this video might be already airdropped. It's called Saturn, the project. This is pretty much right now a marketplace for trading rare Satoshis, but in the future they're also following under the narrative of potentially Bitcoin DeFi, so they might also work on a DeFi platform. And they have their new standard, which is different to rings, different to pipe and tap and all the other stuff that we discussed. Nobody knows exactly what this will be, but it's launching soon, and a bunch of OG collections are receiving airdrop of this token together with the people that have been farming you know, and building volume on their platform. So this is just the biggest one right now, but trust me, I believe there will be a lot more. Actually, the biggest one right now is these guys that we just discussed, the RSICs, because you can actually trade this and make money and, you know, potentially sell for a profit if you got it airdrop and you didn't really need to do anything pretty much. So this one for now is the biggest one, but you can see the trend here of airdrops together with this token that I mentioned already, BNP, the tap, and it's all over the place that we're getting the signs that people are getting a bunch of stuff airdropped, and it kind of makes sense. It happened the same when there was the NFT craze on Ethereum, and it's currently happening also in normal crypto. Like, for example, people that are staking Celestia are getting a bunch of airdrops. So this is definitely the theme, and since the space is relatively new still, I think there's a good opportunity that we'll be seeing a lot more and a lot more profitable airdrops in the near future. And the last and probably most interesting trend that is currently really on fire from the beginning of the year, and I do believe this will just go bigger and bigger, it's the so-called NAT tokens. I discussed a little bit earlier how this digital meta theory works. Pretty much on a given block, you have some kind of information about that block. Maybe if we put a visual, it will be easier to understand. So here you can go on blockchain.com. You need to type a block that you're interested in, and you'll be able to see the details about this block. So for example, there is the value of it, there is the outputs, the inputs, the fees, the rewards, the weight, the bits, which is actually the field that the most popular NAT token is using. And you can do all kinds of stuff. So you can reference certain field within this block and generate a token or something. It's still very new. People are getting really creative. There are different patterns that they recognize and so on and so on. But you can go here on mscribe.io, which is, by the way, a platform built by the block runner guys. So you definitely go and check it out and support them. And as you can see here, DMT NAT is pretty much the first official NAT token, and it's called again NAT, so it's the same name to not confuse people. It has this supply, so this is pretty much the number of bytes that you have here on all the blocks that have been mined. So this supply will be increasing with every new block, and you can check here how many holders they have, the deployment date, and so on and so on. And by the way, Benny from Track is indexing all of this. So again, another reason to be bullish on Track. And right now, these NAT tokens are generating crazy volume on Ordinals wallet. Currently, we have almost 6,000 sales with 120 Bitcoin in volume. That is insane. I don't think Ordinals wallet has ever seen such kind of volume. Currently, we're trading at around 0.031 Bitcoin per 10 billion tokens. Because we have so many zeros and so many tokens, this is the way I use the measuring stick for 10 billion tokens. And this makes around between 40 and $50 million market cap for this token. Currently, I minted a bunch of them. I'm sitting on probably more than a 10x profit from my mint cost, but I am looking to accumulate more because I do believe these will do extremely well. Similar to Bitmap, they're kind of a no-brainer player. They're the first and new and on a new standard. And as you can see by the volume, and whenever there is volume, people like it. And I think this is what you need to be tracking, and actually, since I refreshed, you can see here that probably this is the latest information, but around 6,400 sales with 128 Bitcoin in volume. So that is a lot of money and a lot of traction. So definitely go check this out. I'm not sure if this will be the best buying opportunity right now at these prices, but I'm definitely monitoring the price very, very closely. And I'm looking to buy a bit more. There's some other NAT tokens that are getting launched. I did mint a bunch of baked, which still really not worth anything because there's no volume here. We can see it on Ordinals wallet. But keep in mind, these are pulling some volume and some interest even without an actual marketplace. So I cannot imagine what could happen once we get some kind of an infrastructure. Another one that I minted is Joker. I minted a bunch of those, but these are really low supply and pretty much zero volume. So I'm not sure if they're going to be doing well in the future, but we're about to see, we're in the forefront of this. It's super new. And of course, as always, there's a ton of risks. I'm not advocating, go buy an ape right now. Just start learning. I have a bunch of videos on this on the channel already, and get familiar with the space and make your own decisions. But I can tell you what I've been doing. And I've been minting a bunch of this. I've been starting to accumulate a bit more, like Bitmaps and so on. And in the next few months, I would just be doing more of this. And I truly believe this will make me a ton of money in the next year or so. That's everything for today, guys. And if you have any questions, you know how to find me.